Hey YouTube, John and Gareth here, and we're going to talk Samsung Galaxy S8. We're less than a week away from Samsung's Unpacked event. It's on Wednesday the 29th of March, mark it in your calendar, and we're going to tell you what to expect because we've got a pretty good idea.
Yeah, we've talked to our sources, we've scoured the web, we've looked through all the rumour mill waterlogged bits at the bottom, and we found out exactly what we think is going to be happening with the Galaxy S8 launch next week. Number one, obviously, the Samsung Galaxy S8.
Ooh, number two, a second phone, the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus.
There's also going to be a Gear VR with controller, which we've already seen promoted at the Tab S3 launch in Barcelona. And we also think there's going to be something called the DeX, which we're assuming is going to be something like an Android controller that will turn your phone into a larger PC-like environment, very similar to Microsoft's Continuum.
But let's get down to the brass tacks, let's get down to the specs. That's what everyone wants to know. There's been loads of rumours, we've spoken to some of our sources as well, and we've got a pretty good idea of what you can expect. We'll kick off with the Samsung Galaxy S8. We're looking at 5.8 inch QHD display. That's bigger.
That's the Plus.
No, that's not. That's the thing. That's the S8, Gareth.
What?
Because the Plus is going to be even bigger. 6.2 inches of Super AMOLED curved beauty.
That is surprising.
I mean, these are big screens for not so big phones. Samsung's going to really reduce the bezels on both handsets. So 5.8 inch on the standard S8, that's up for 5.1 on the S7 last year. So the handset itself is going to be slightly bigger, but it's going to be smaller. Keep up with the Note 7, which has a 5.7 inch display. So bigger screen, smaller body, fewer bezels. Wow.
And in terms of what's going to be going on inside, we've got two different variants of the chipset. We're going to have a 4 GB of RAM on each, but there will be a Snapdragon 835 for the US and Samsung's own Exynos chip, probably for the rest of the world. That's going to give us some pretty blinding power on both of these phones. Last year, the Exynos was one of the most powerful around. It will probably be even bigger this time, and we recently benchmarked the Snapdragon 835, and that is again a very powerful engine. So, looking good, big screens, and these phones will be able to power pretty much anything that Android can throw at it. But there is one big worry right now, and that seems to be the price.
Yes, that's something we're less sure on, but we've seen several leaks about,
yes.
And it's going to be a bit more expensive again this year. So you're going to have to really save up. There'll be no physical home button, something which Samsung has stuck by for years and years, long after most people have dropped it. That means you've got a smaller bezel on the front, but it means the fingerprint scanner that used to be there is moving to the back, which is not a terrible idea. It has worked on a number of other phones, lots of people do it. It's slightly inconvenient if your phone is sitting on a desk or something, you have to pick it up or type in your password. The issue here though is its placement,
yes,
right next to the camera on the back, which could well lead to lots of smudges.
And if there's a smudged camera lens, that means smudged pictures, and you might not get the sharpest image every single time. But where Samsung has moved the home key from the front, you'd think therefore fewer moving parts, cheaper phone, easier and less to break. There will be another key. It will be the Bixby key. That's going to be a whole new change for Samsung this year. And it seems like a weird one, John. It's going to be the artificial intelligence assistant, like Siri, like Cortana, like Alexa. But why is it there? Why has it got its own physical key? It seems a bit early, doesn't it?
It does, especially because Samsung's already told us that it's not going to be fully formed when it launches on the S8. It's going to do sort of basic voice tasks, calling, maybe messaging, but it's not really going to work with third-party apps to start with. A lot of features are going to come later, so it's going to be a little bit half-baked. It'll be interesting to see if that key can be programmed to something else, maybe an app of your favourite, or if Samsung's going to demand it's always the Bixby button.
It probably will be. You can imagine Samsung doing a new system like this. It would really want it to be always that, so your focus very much on that. But really, Samsung wants Bixby to be an Alexa rival because it wants to go on TVs, onto air conditioners. It wants, if you can understand voice, it can understand Bixby. It's the same way Samsung wants it to happen. So that's going to be a weird one. So you can see a big fanfare from that at Samsung at the actual launch, but who's going to really care? That's the big issue with that.
Just quickly on the S8 Plus, the two main differences between the phones is the screen size, 6.2 inches on the S8 Plus, same resolution, so that will be a lower pixel density on screen, so it may not be quite as pin sharp, but does give you more space to play. Secondly, battery size. Battery is going to be around 500 milliamps bigger in the S8 Plus than the S8. Last year's batteries on the S7 Duo were very good. We were impressed with the battery life, so we're hoping for more of the same although it doesn't sound like the batteries are going to get any bigger, even though the phones are bigger.
So the battery is actually one of the worries here, because on the Galaxy S8 Plus, for instance, it's going to be a smaller battery pack despite the fact the screen is bigger. Now, there are no more pixels to drive, the CPU is better, but it seems Samsung really needs to think about how it's going to save that power, and one way is to give you fewer pixels from the start. So while they are QHD resolution, it looks like it's rumoured that the phones themselves will downgrade to Full HD by default, and you'll have to push the resolution back up to QHD if you want all those lovely pixels.
So that's all you need to know about the Samsung Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus ahead of the launch on Wednesday the 29th of March. We'll be reporting live from both the London and New York events, so keep it locked to Tech Radar for all the latest news, reviews, hands-ons, in-depth analysis, videos of these lovely faces. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Tell us what you want from the S8. Does it look like Samsung's on the right track? Has it missed a trick? And we'll see you again very soon.
Thanks.